Hello everyone, this here is Tracilyn. I'm also known as VCAT, and I am in front of, let's see, let me get the sign. I am in front of Graters in Clifton down in Cincinnati. And I shared my life story, I think it was through 2013, since birth. And I also shared some information about when I was in Las Vegas and some things that occurred to me while I was out there. I'm going to share a little bit of my Cincinnati experience when I was busking, and then when I get home I'm going to kind of give you some details on information that I gathered up during those years. So anyway, I'm going to give you some video footage of the place I was when I realized that I was not only being stalked in Las Vegas or when I was on the road as an escort, but I was also starting to be stalked right here in Cincinnati. Now, how it's being done, I don't really know. In 2009, I was under the assumption that I had a chip put in my forehead. When I was out in Las Vegas, I almost died on the bridge, the Cosmopolitan Bridge, and some gentleman had some kind of bottle in the midst of me passing on that had me inhale something that was in the bottle. And I already shared that part of the story. So right now, what I'm going to share with you is this is when I actually realized upon arrival here that when a gentleman approached me and he spoke to me, I realized that there were people who were watching me very closely. So whether it be on the cameras that are stationed throughout the city here, or if they're watching me via satellite, or if there's something inside of me that draws people to me, that my whereabouts, I am definitely being surveillanced very closely. And I do believe that a lot of people have been feeding off my identity, feeding off my ideas. I talk a lot to myself when I'm alone in private. Some people would say that's a crazy person, but that's just the way that it is for me. So I'm gonna go into town right now and discuss with some people that I crossed paths when I was there and a couple situations, but I will explain more of the details when I get home. So this is where it began in Cincinnati for me. And a gentleman approached me. I do not know his name. But he had let me know that, some other people, I guess, had gotten discovered here busking in Clifton. So here we go. I'm going to get on the bus and I'm going to go into Cincinnati and I'm going to discuss to you some of the situations that happened that led me to believe that a gentleman that I met when I was down in Nashville by the name of Stephen C. Johnson was starting to send people to me while busking on the street. All right.
Route 17.
Thank you. All right, I'm back here and I am in Government Square, which is right across from Fountain Square. Just got off bus 17. 8024. I was really disappointed in taking that bus ride down here from Clifton because the bus fee was $1.75. I had two ones that I inserted. I had asked them if they had any kind of discounts for the disabled, just out of curiosity. And also, I had asked them if they would have, print out a credit of 25 cents for the ride back, or if they would give change. And the answer is no. So a good question to start off this blog with is, how do you feel about that Cincinnati? Imagine how many people put $2 into that bus for the bus fare and they didn't get that quarter back. Now why is that? What kind of business do you think that is? And business ethics. what kind of city would actually okay that it's okay for somebody to pay an additional amount. There's nothing stated on there that it has to be an exact amount. So I was not aware when I put the money in. It was either take the bus ride down and pay the $2 instead of the $1.75, getting a refund or a credit, or walk down. So anyway, I don't want to hype too much about that. My opinion is I think it sucks. And when you multiply that by how many people take that bus every day, especially if they're visitors to this city, you know, it's a disappointment in my opinion. Huge disappointment. And I think the city officials should do something about that. All right. I am just down from Fountain Square. In Cincinnati, Ohio. And I am standing in front of the First Center at 600 Vine Street. Just across from the Panera. This is where I used to come and bust a lot when I was down here in Cincinnati. This was my favorite spot to play. I would wear a cat outfit, and I would set up my guitar case, and I would sing my songs, dance, and mingle with the people, the pedestrians that were passing by. While I was here, I was very observant of the atmosphere around me, and I noticed that there are some cameras that are stationed throughout the city. And in the process of that, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of details now because I just kind of made a quick trip down here, and I would rather sit down at my desk today and get it out of my system. So I just wanted to show a little bit of video footage of where I was. Now, there's a newspaper stand over here. Let me take you over here quick. And I remember one day that a gentleman was over at this area. And I was stationed over here on this side of the street in front of the dumpster by the garbage can. I like to play by the tree. And as he walked over to me, he had mentioned at some point in our conversation that it's best for me to always stay down here, that they can be extreme. He emphasized the fact that they are very, very evil people. Okay, and by that time I was starting to get the idea of how close I am being monitored, and that evidently, being that I'm a recording artist, a songwriter, that the people in the music industry, entertainment industry, evidently are a bunch of hard asses. And I am learning how a lot of people, or the select few percentage, if you will, of people maintain their position. And they do it through some kind of mental oppression. Now, are they using technology to do that? Did I inhale something when I was in Las Vegas? Was there a chip put at me at birth? Was there one put into me when I was at one of the hospital visits? This is unclear. But I would obviously I have mentioned that I talk a lot to myself. That started off with prayer. I used to go to the mountains a lot, and I would pray to what I believed was God. And that started me off in realizing, that, let me just say that I started to talk out loud a lot to myself. People that I used to live with used to complain about it because it's, societal-wise, it's not acceptable behavior. It means that a person would be crazy. But I'm here to tell you it doesn't mean that a person's crazy. It means that a person, in my opinion, is in tune. with themselves and the universe. Some people say that they're talking to God. I believe that, some people will also say that they're talking to their higher conscience. And I remember having a sensation of feeling like there was a higher self that was communicating back and forth to me. I also remember upon arrival here on day one, back in 2012, probably around July or August, sometime in that area, that it felt like I was in some kind of video game. In other words, that people from afar that had access to watching me very closely were kind of like trying to send messages to me. And it feels kind of like you're in a video game. Because they try to lead you into what I guess their agenda is, what they want to see you do with your life, with yourself, with your talents, or what have you. So I want you to keep that in mind, that the gentleman that had grabbed that paper and came over to me that day, they were always very kind, but he had mentioned about always staying down here. And I didn't know, is he referring to the street? To the sidewalk? Is it a mental thing that he wants me to always remember what I've learned while I was down here, which I don't really want to discuss about at this time? Because there's something to be learned if you just take time to do an art of some kind, whether it's to sing and dance, maybe tell jokes or stand on a street corner and just start talking to people or talk to yourself. And you will start to see different ways that the universe and the human race kind of respond. Is that the right words?
I just don't feel like the extra.
So there was a really nice gentleman that had a food stand that would be here. I didn't see him here today. I would have liked to say hi. So in that situation, I would move up the line here a little bit.
He brings the fire pit out front, and then he brings it back out back.
I met a lot of nice people in the process of me busking. Like I said, I would be in a cat outfit, play an acoustic guitar, and I would have my guitar case out. And sometimes people would be generous and they might give me $1 or so, or they might stop and talk to me for a while and get a bunch of hugs. So I kind of miss that a little bit. Actually, a lot. With that being said, I also promised somebody that I would not tell anybody. I asked him if I could have a celebrity that came by. I noticed that he was riding his bike and he was with somebody else. I don't want to mention his name because I promised him I wouldn't. But he showed up here in a corner, and as he was standing there, I quick ran over to him and I asked him if he was a certain celebrity, and he was. And I asked him if I could please have a hug. He gave me a hug, and that was one of my memorable times that is good. Now, I can't wait to start explaining some of the details. I do not remember every single conversation. Occasionally I can reflect back, and maybe I will when I'm sharing this a little bit later. But I just wanted to give you some insight of where I was playing. As well, I'm not sure of the exact date or what have you, but throughout my busking between Cincinnati here and Fountain Square, Clifton not so much, the Oregon District, Yellow Springs. Whenever I would come here, sometimes I would arrive here about 10 o'clock in the morning, and I would play my heart out until later on in the evening when it started to get dark out. I did that through the hot months into when it got really, really cold. Once it started to fall below 50, and sometimes even in the 40s, that's when I couldn't come out here to bear the cold anymore. I always looked forward to it. I was going through a very crazy time in life because, as you've seen in my life story, if you take time to listen to it, this all started a very challenging life journey when I started delving deep into the Holy Scripture. and I started going to Christian communities of churches, if you will, mega churches and stuff. And I can't wait to start explaining more in depth about that. But right now we're going to stay focused here. So one day I was standing over here and I was busking in my cat outfit. I had my guitar case out and I was singing away. And I'm not 100% sure what direction an individual came, whether it was across the street and then over to me or from down that way. But he had looked at me as he stood right before me, and he had told me that he likes to make funny videos, and he asked me if I had a business card. So I knelt down here out of my bag and I got him a business card and I handed it to him. I never said anything, but as he walked away, and probably about that second pillar, I realized that it was John Bon Jovi. A lot of these, if you will, let me see, celebrities, if that's what you want to call them. I want to say assholes. They don't think that you recognize them when you're face to face, because when you're on camera, depending on the lighting, depending on the camera angle, the camera itself, the illusion of their image has the potential to appear much different than if you were to meet somebody in person. For some reason, I've always had good senses about myself. So when I was like out in Las Vegas and stuff, different celebrities walked by. I seen John Travolta the one time. He passed by. I seen Ozzy's daughter. Somebody had mentioned it to me, and I seen her. The thing is I don't get too excited about that, like people would want me to, or like your average person would. So I always remain calm because I met a lot of celebrities throughout my life. If that's what you want to call them, I call them assholes. And, you know, I realize that they're no different than I, or different than you, or different than anybody else. But what I psychologically did not get is when you know that you're just as creative, just as amazing as a songwriter, as an entertainer, if you will, a performer. What are the steps when you're reaching out to different people, like whether it be record companies, publishing companies, other musicians, other recording artists? How is it that they seem to always maintain or to continue to grow over the years, a select few? And I met a lot of recording artists that were national recording artists, and they were phenomenal musicians and songwriters and performers. And they had told me awful stories of things that happened to them when they were in the industry, why they got out of it, and also some other ones that just, it seemed that every one of them got screwed somehow. But they never explained to me the details, and it was never my business, but they never explained to me the details as to how or why things happen. Well, of course, psychologically, this was always troubling to me, because how can these people that I admire very greatly, and I know that they're extremely talented, why would they back away from following what I believed was probably their greatest calling in their life? Well, I started to learn it right here in the streets of Cincinnati. I started to learn it when I reflect back when I was on the road as an escort, and it became relevant when I was in Las Vegas. Actually, just before Las Vegas is when things started to happen, that I started to realize, you know what, not only was I being stalked as an escort, but I am being stalked right here in Dayton, Ohio. Now, these people are nice to me when they cross paths with me. Nobody's ever mean to me. Yet. But because of, as I explained before, I feel that there's either a chip inside of me or there's some kind of, like if you heard of MK Ultra, is that real? Is it not real? Did I inhale some kind of life form or substance that manifests inside of me and it gives them the ability to basically be connected with me? These are things that I am curious about. And what about you? Have you ever felt that way? Like you're being watched very closely? And some people would say like you're connected to the entire universe, so when you're talking to somebody, you know that it was maybe something you were talking about privately to yourself, or you were talking in conversation with somebody else, and then within a very brief time or a short time, there was some kind of manifestation of another conversation or a continual conversation that would happen amongst other people. So I'm not going to go into any more details. I'm stressing on Bon Jovi because I used to have a lot of celebrity dreams, and he was one that was very clear to me that I met him face to face. And he had mentioned that he likes to make funny videos too. He asked me for a business card, I gave him one. I realized it, but I didn't say nothing to him on who he was. But I did realize, you know, some other things that I'm looking very forward to sharing with you. So, with that being said, this is a spot that I used to busk, and I don't know the time frame, but it was between 2012 and 2013, because by 2014, I finally had a means to be able to take shelter, if you will, which was a very challenging struggle that, in my opinion, should have never been there. It shouldn't be there for anybody. We got some serious issues in this country, and a lot of it has to do with the mentality of a select few people. And I believe a lot of times it's people that we as a society have been taught to admire and to look up to. A lot of times I'm under suspicion as to whether or not they're the most crooked. Okay, so here's a camera. If they keep their data, every one of my encounters should be, what, on a hard drive somewhere? I'm going to take you on a couple more. I have had other conversations, and I will explain some more of the detail as we go. Another time, I crossed paths with somebody who wanted to walk around town with me. And he was explaining me some of the details, and I'll take you right to the place that we were talking when he had mentioned something to me. That gave me a little more insight about what the people in the industry do to other people like myself. Okay. They call it the secret society, is it? They're not so secret. They're obviously, if you pay attention, they're basically out there putting it in everybody's face. So, okay. It's about down, I forget what street. Do you know what street this is? 7th Street? Okay, thank you. I am down here on 7th Street in Cincinnati. Right by Queen City CrossFit. As I was saying over there at the area that I was standing at on Vine Street, that is when I really started to realize, from the messengers, as I would call it, that I didn't realize exactly how it was happening, but messages were being sent to other people, and then they would come and talk to me. They had given me enough small details, if you will, at times making it very clear, at times kind of just like making it a hint, if you will, that it was definitely Stephen C. Johnson, the gentleman that I met in Nashville, Tennessee, at the Commodore. And I'll explain more about that later. But as I was walking down through this street on 7th Street, at that time, and I guess I still sort of am, but I kind of backed up a little bit from that. Hello. I was a huge fan of the 50s. Elvis Presley is a huge inspiration to me. What was done through him is what I've come to learn. Marilyn Monroe, Lucille Ball, Johnny Cash, you know, the $1 Million Quartet, Jerry Lee Lewis. What I realized is just the spirit of the 50s that was pretty dominant in society at that time, at least projected through these people especially and through their music, is what I was drawn to. So I still am, but I try to be very cautious on, I keep myself saturated within myself and my own music. I realize it's for the best for my mental health, because I'm realizing that the power of images, the power of music is far more powerful than I would have ever imagined. But when I was down here, a gentleman had mentioned to me basically that the people in the industry basically made an ass out of Marilyn Monroe. You know, and then he explained some situations that I'd rather not share here on camera. But I felt like when he was saying that, he was kind of also hinting at me that that's pretty much what these people are about. The people in the industry. We're gonna take a walk down here to the bridge, show you the river, and then I'm heading back. I'm back, and I am right across the bridge, the river, from Cincinnati. On a center media, grass that is, right by the Welcome to Covington, Kenton County. I want to share a brief story about this bridge crossing. I met a very, very good-looking, dark-skinned man, if you will. On my way across the bridge one day, I just wanted to wander over here and see what was on the other side. And I was kind of downtrodden. And as I was getting ready to step off the bridge into Kentucky, the gentleman kind of told me, "You do not want to go there." So I just assumed, because I'm a transsexual female, that that's what he was referring to, but I don't know 100% for sure. So I am here. I am Tracilyn, standing in Kentucky. I am a transsexual female, yet I'm okay. I met a gentleman while sitting at the bus stop in Clifton, here in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's just, I think it's north of there, a few minutes. And when he was sitting there at the bus terminal, for some reason he had mentioned to me that it used to be a huge gay community. And why he said that, I don't know. But he said that they, who he's referring to, I don't know, they had run him out of here. And I asked him, I kind of chuckled, and I said, "I take it you don't like gays, people in the gay community?" And he said no, and when I asked him why, he said it was because the way they look at him. So I don't know, I guess some of the old mentality is still around, but for the most part I would say that people in general in the Ohio area have been very, very kind, extremely kind. Now, I've always wanted to visit Kentucky and see a little bit of Kentucky. I'm not going to take the time today because I came down from Dayton just to kind of give a briefing on a few things that stuck in my mind from the year and a half or what have you that I was busking while down here. I met a lot of wonderful people, but what I'm really pissed off about is that I realize that I have been used as a resource by people in what they call the family, which is in our religious communities and mega churches, in the entertainment industry is what they are, and the political figures, which in my opinion are nothing more than second-grade entertainers, you know, and basically it's just to dominantly keep people in living in an oppressive state. I myself never really understood that. I really never got it, because why wouldn't you want to pull the fullest potential out of people? Some would say the world would look pretty much the same. So I say it would look even more beautiful. I've always stumbled wondering, how is it that such a small percentage of people have what they call the wealth? And what I've come to realize is there is no wealth. We're all wealthy. It's just who is living in freedom in American soil, on American soil. They created a money system, and with that, we become slaves to work for freedom, what some people in writings have called freedom units. I want to touch base with that in time, but I'm really pissed off because I've been raped of my freedom my whole life. The school system failed to teach me properly. I didn't learn about gender identity. I didn't learn about sexual identity. I didn't learn how to tap into my true talents and be true to my heart, where the whole world would benefit from it. And if you, the listener, really got it like I got it, you would be extremely pissed, as I am, because the world at large, this country at large, the human race at large, it's a psychological, what I would call, some people would call it a disadvantage, but because we're distracted as children, we're taken away from our parents shortly after birth, and it's getting worse these years. They want them to go to K-care and all this other stuff, and they want other people raising our children, because it's the best time to start brainwashing them and distracting them from being focused on their true nature of who they would naturally be if they had the proper guidance. And this may start to become, as we enter into the computer age, people are starting to communicate with others, and therefore more information is being discovered very quickly. This is how I learned that what has come to be is that I identify more with what we've been taught is that of the female species in the human race, at least in this country. I most certainly identify more so with the genetic female than I do with the male species. And I'm also extremely attracted to a masculine energy, whether that would be male, female, or whatever. I feel balanced that way. And it helps to tap into my femininity when I'm around masculine energy. That accepts me. With that being said, I don't want to get too started on all that. But as you can see across here, the bridge, I am in Kentucky, and it's Cincinnati. A couple more things, and I'm ready to head back, and eventually I will share with you a couple other places that is closer to Dayton, Ohio, where I am currently residing at. I have been going through hell since coming out, if you will, that's what they call it, but since I've been trying to get in alignment with my heart, and I shared a lot of the details. I don't like to keep repeating the things because I really want to move forward with my life, continue to do my passion, stay true to myself, and hopefully connect with other people. My problem is circumstantial, because I can't really do anything about my circumstances without getting arrested or going through a great deal of suffering somehow, because I cannot truly, freely be myself without going through a serious amount of struggle. I kind of ended up in what I would consider to be leftovers. I had to take whatever was available to me since I came out here to Ohio. And I love Ohio for what Ohio is in a positive sense. However, just like that bus fare today coming down here to Fountain Square, I realize a lot of ignorance that is within the city council, within the political fields, with whoever thinks they're in control of everything out here. I see that there's a lot of corruption in Ohio, and I'm expressing that because I witnessed it. And I believe, as others, that we as the citizens of the United States are under serious amounts of mind control, and they want to keep us confused as to, is there a chip inside of us? Is there some kind of alien inside of us? Are they watching us via satellite? How are they doing it? And what I'm here to tell you is, I really believe that we are nothing that we've been taught. We have an amazing abundance overflow of what some people would call magical powers, some people would call it spiritual powers. And because we are what some speakers would say dumbed down, we're taught basically, we're taught focus on somebody else's agenda, or a large group of people or a small group of people's agendas for how they want this country to function and operate. It can break into the county, it can break into the city, it can break into statewide. And basically we as citizens of the United States have to continually fight to have any kind of real life. That's what I've realized. And I gotta say that I'm extremely pissed off because I have not learned how to shut it down. And what I mean by that is I believe they either have some kind of powers that we haven't been taught. Maybe the information's out there and some of us are not grabbing hold of it, or a majority of us are not grabbing hold of it. Or they have technology, obviously years in advance. I believe that they have been taking my identity, my creativity, while I'm working in the music studio at home and I'm recording my music. I believe that the software developing company that I was using, I also believe that very strongly, because I talk out loud and I was using it. It's what I give therapy to myself, because there's nothing else that I can really do with my life. And I am a recording artist. Music is what I'm most passionate about. Entertaining, music, it all kind of goes together. Songwriting. So I don't want to talk too much about this. This video, I gotta say, I don't personally care how jumbled up it is. I just want to put out the word that I have experienced and witnessed some pretty crazy stuff that people would consider it, and I believe that these people are doing this to a lot of people. And I believe that what has happened to me since coming to Ohio, I have met other songwriters, recording artists, stage performers, whatever, artists, recording artists. And they never told me the details. And I don't know if it's because of fear or what the deal is, but I've always realized that it appeared that there's something kind of going on in their head and they're not being completely open about it. I'm here to tell you that I'm extremely open about it. I don't know what it is, but I do know that it's a large group of people that are into mind oppression, trying to control our thoughts. And they will work double time and overtime. Some people would tell you that it's Satan. I don't know if it's Satan or not, but I do believe that it's what we call humans that have access to some kind of powers or technology that are simply getting into our brains, into our thought process. They're trying to keep our focus from our mind and what's really the center of who we are, our heart, being true to ourselves. They're trying to keep our focus away from that. And in my situation, I really believe that people who, what they would call truthers, people who speak life of truth, their history and what they have been through and their perspective on things that are out there in reality, or the illusion of reality. I believe that they see people like me as a huge threat to what they would call the establishment. Okay? So, they try to get us to kill ourselves. They try to get us to do bizarre things. Even like doing this. They will continuously twist things around as you go throughout the day inside of your head. And I'm telling you that I don't know if it's Stephen C. Johnson that is actually doing this, but from my conversation at his house in Derby, New York, which I'm going to share with you the details about that, I go back in my mind process and I wish I would have knocked him out. Because I knew that he was into head games, but I had no idea how corrupted this man was, or the people who were connected to him. But I'm very thankful that I got out of there. I wish I would have never met him, and I want to send a heat of warning out to anybody who goes down to Nashville. Be very, very careful and aware that there are people that evidently are connected with the powers and the technology, if you will, the ability to get into our thoughts, the ability to watch us via satellite. Are they watching us from up there? And they know, and they get word very quickly of amazing songwriters and people who have extreme amounts of potential, and they will invade their privacy and they will take all their creative insight. And their thing is, prove it. Prove that they're actually taking anything from you. And I'm here to tell you that they know what they can get away with and what they can't. And not to mention the world at large is large. So we only know what we know as we go through our daily life. But when we're recording and using a lot of software programs in my belief system, I believe that it's connected in a sort, and our computers, that they're connected in a sort that other people can hack into them and take our creative insight. Now, how much of that creative insight do they take? And when they're listening to us speak in the privacy of our home or to somebody else, however it's being done. Because I've noticed a manifestation through the commercial industry, through corporate entertainers, if you will, what we call celebrities. No sooner would I be talking about something or doing something about a lot of different ideas that I've had over the years, I would notice that other people within the industry were doing what I said. And I'm going to share the details of that. Now is not the time. I don't want to use up too much video. I want to keep this really short and sweet and just put the message out there. I love you. We're going to go back into Cincinnati. I have 2 more places to show you. Again, if you do come down here to Fountain Square, be aware that if it's not a big deal to you, it's not a big deal to you. But I look at the masses of people that use that bus system on a daily basis, and I come from Dayton. And when you use the bus terminal at Dayton and you put in the finances, number one, they have respect for people that are on some form of disability, whether it be mental or whether it be physical. They have respect for that. And on top of it, when you pay your fare, they give you a card with the remainder of what is not the actual bus fare. And you multiply the fact that they won't even give you a receipt on the metro here in Cincinnati. What the hell's wrong with you people? This is coming from somebody who's living on pennies. A minimal amount of freedom units, if you will. And it's not that I accepted a whole lot less. It's the life journey that I've had. And I hate to see stuff like that. Because most people will let it go. I will not let it go. I want my 25 cents coming down here, and I want my 25 cents when I go back to Clifton. And I'm going to continually bring up little stuff like that because it's the little things. If you can't trust a city with something that small, then you can't trust a city with something much bigger. Look it up into God's Word. He or she who cannot be trusted with little cannot be trusted with much. And if they were ripping off the taxpayers of this city just doing that, imagine what they're doing otherwise, and nobody's paying attention to it. Maybe their focus isn't there, or maybe their spirit is downtrodden. Think of how many years they've been doing this, how many bus rides they're given a day, calculate all that up. The gentleman that was on the bus said that they should have on there, or on the new bus pamphlets, if you will, with the routes on it, the schedules. He said it should say on there that you have to pay the exact amount. Why? We got technology nowadays. I'm holding a camera in my hand. Why can't a bus terminal like that, if other bus terminals around the freaking country are up to snuff, why can't this one get up to snuff and give people who are what? Maybe not everybody's carrying around the exact change, Metro of Cincinnati. Maybe not. And maybe not everybody sees that as a serious thing, but I do, because if you multiply that by how many people have been riding that bus, for how many years have you been doing that? What would you call that? What would you call that? It wouldn't be some kind of criminal misconduct, would it? What do you think it would be? I don't know. Leave me a comment down below. Share this with other people in Cincinnati. And just remember, he or she who can be trusted can't be trusted with little, can't be trusted with much. In my opinion, that's lack of interest in caring for the community at large down here. Not to mention all the visitors that come down here. How often are they putting $2 in here, $2 in there? They're not getting their change back. They won't give them a receipt. Why won't they give them a receipt? I don't know any business. I was self-employed for years. If somebody asked me for a receipt, I wrote it out. Here's a receipt. Now, if Tracilyn can do that, why can't the Metro? Why can't they do it? They can't afford the technology, or what? If they took that 25 cents off of each rider over the years, right there, they have more than enough money to take care of that. I would say do something about it, Cincinnati. Spread the message. Now, why am I talking like that? Because I realized that when I was down here in Cincinnati that I was being stalked. Because I realized when I was in Las Vegas I was being stalked. Whether these people were trying to be kind or not, I will tell you right now that supposedly they get how the atmosphere works, and basically your thoughts manifest something into reality. In other words, if you're thinking, I'm going to walk from here to there, across that bridge, you're going to just start walking that way. And that's true. Well, the whole thing is they're trying to take your focus off when you're walking from here to the bridge to get you to go do something else. Even in doing my music projects, or things that I want to do. And they have some kind of mind, I don't want to say control, because they're not controlling me. And the one thing is, God will tell you in Scripture that we have been given free will. So therefore we have freedom of choice. And there's a lot more that we can get into. If it wasn't for God's Scripture, for the Holy Bible, I don't think I'd be alive right now today, because these people are really cruel-ass son of a bitches. Okay? And we have not been taught the things that they are doing to our minds. But I would say to you, be aware that the food you eat, the water that you drink, what you bathe in, the shampoo, the conditioners, the perfumes, all these chemicals and stuff are diluting us. We don't know what it's really like to have the most natural and pure resources. So therefore, we don't know how much mind strength we have, how much health, how much beauty. We don't know that because we've been denied it our whole life. And a lot of people go through this life not aware, or they're aware and they don't do something about it. So all I can do is put awareness out, and I am looking for a legal representative because I really do believe that I have names of some people that should be investigated by private investigators or by the FBI. Maybe they're in on it, who knows? But I'm tired of being toyed with. I have a pure heart, a good heart. I love music. As far as I'm concerned, I want to rock and roll for the rest of my life. And I have been going through some struggles, and those struggles were I wasn't taught right psychologically. Let me tell you something, parents of children. If they are not teaching your kids psychology from day one, then you need to yank them out of that school and put them in a school that will teach them psychological. Because that's what we need. We need wisdom, intelligence. See, wisdom comes through experience, and intelligence is what I would consider to be factual information. All right, so we got a couple more things to do, and I'm heading back over to Cincinnati. All right, as I'm walking across the bridge, my hair is all, it's all messed up. We are going across the river on this beautiful blue bridge. And I was right about here. It was just before I started getting ready to cross over to Kentucky when a gentleman approached me and kind of persuaded me that I didn't want to go over there. So why that is, I have no idea. It looks like a nice, quiet place to be. Some nice apartment buildings. I am here at the Chase Bank in Cincinnati. I'm not sure what street I'm on, but I'm almost positive, but not 100% positive. This is where there's a little fogginess. I'm almost convinced this was the bank that I came into with a gentleman that cautioned me about telling me that I don't want to go over, to Kentucky. He didn't say it exactly like that. And then we walked over here, and he asked me to have a seat, or he showed me that I could have a seat while he did his business at the bank. And there was magazines on a table in front of me. And basically, in short, I just knew within myself, because it had to do with femininity. So we're going to hold it there, because there's other programs that I have watched that talked about how, if you want to say the secret society, I call them assholes. I don't want to femme everybody out, because some people view femininity as a weakness, and I'm here to tell you it's the strength. In my opinion, it's where life is. That's all I wanted to show you. It's a really nice bank, by the way. It has a nice view. One more stop off, and then we go back and give the city an additional quarter, because I don't have the change. Okay, I'm getting ready to depart Fountain Square. I am at what they call Governor's Square, which is right across Fountain Square. Cincinnati is a beautiful place. I have a belief system that says that there's a lot of corruption that goes on all over the country, but for me, it happened and it was more recognized when I was here on the streets. On that note, I used to come down here to Busk as well before I got onto the bus, depending on the time of the day. And right here at this tree, right about there there was a man, a very skinny, elderly man, who grabbed onto the tree and he swung himself around and he was talking to me. Believe it or not, I knew instantly who it was, but I didn't really say anything about that. I never acknowledged who these people were, but it was Chris Christopherson. And we had a small conversation. And I'll reflect back on moments like that when I get going. It's starting to get late. But I just wanted to share with you some of the spots of some of the few people that really dominantly stay in my mind. I did have my stuff posted online, and one of the songs that I loved to death was Bobby McGee, and I used to play it down here all the time. And hopefully someday I will have the opportunity to record that song, my version of it, of course. But maybe not. There's been a lot that's going on, and these people are assholes. I mean, they're playing serious head games with me, and I'm getting sick of it. There might not be much of a pause in this. I want to get this out of my system so I can get more focused onto the subject matters at hand and how I ended up to even be on the streets of Cincinnati, playing my guitar in a very stubborn, selfish life journey experiences that I have had. Adios.